The first video I made about this show was my channel's most disliked video ever, so I came back for more. There is absolutely zero doubt in my mind, no question, we are not meant to sympathize or empathize with Joe's character or Nicole Kidman's character. You can't trust any of them. This is what Nicole Kidman's character tells Joe about the Lionesses. The Lioni. The agents that are the Lioness agents. The Lioness agents are broken, completely shattered as part of their training to become Lioness, to become a Lioness agent. The first Lioness we see, Manuelos, I think everyone remembers her training, and by the end of the season she completely doesn't trust these people, is against everything they've done, and just walks away. We never see her again. Did we see her this season? No. She walks away, broken, by the way. Because not only did she have to go through that freaking ass training, which isn't training, it's just pure abuse, she fell in love with a woman. She had to kill her father, and then she had to just leave her there. And in this season, this new Lioness is being broken as well, and we see it in episode 3. And still she says you can't trust them. You can't trust any of them. Yeah, because these women know who are their abusers. You can't go through that training and not realize that what they're doing is wrong. Like, in the simulation, in the VR simulation where she was protecting a 16-year-old, supposedly it was a simulation with a 16-year-old who is being held at gunpoint, and Joe tells her, no, if it's an obstacle, you kill the girl and then you kill the man. She's not training an agent, she's training a psychopath. When we see the shot of Joe coming home to finding her husband in the tub, and they have that conversation about how much stress she's under, like, no doubt in my mind, Joe was one of these girls way back when, and she was trained by Nicole Kidman's character, potentially by other people, to be this cold, to be this remorseless and this aggressive with other people and other agents. And when she says she's on a cocktail of drugs to take the edge off, to deal with the stress, and it still isn't working because she's still extremely paranoid, what's her mental state? And how can anyone under this amount of stress and this paranoid even make good decisions? How is it even possible? Like, this is so clearly a show because a person who is going through all of that eventually is going to start failing, is going to start making decisions that aren't good for the team or for the mission or whatever. You can't put your body through that much stress for that long and feel no effects. And I just wish they kept showing that, because I think they were showing it in season 1. I think they cared a little bit about showing how this impacts Joe, but in this season, I don't see much of it. Like, where is her deterioration? Where can we see that her mental state is not okay? Because so far all we have is the paranoia, which, bare minimum, to be honest, bare minimum. And something I have to point out about these female characters, and it starts with Nicole Kidman's character. I cannot remember her name, but in this episode, there's a very clear, she's an asshole throughout the entire series. Both her and Joe are assholes. But in this episode, there's a scene where Nicole Kidman is talking to her assistant, and her assistant warns her of the news that is coming. And Nicole Kidman is annoyed at her because she warned her 20 minutes before instead of 19 minutes before. Like, it's ridiculous, but what she means is, like, don't waste my time. I can watch it when it comes on. And she's an asshole. That's my point. Just an asshole. And if you just imagine a man in the role she is playing, you would think you are an asshole and I don't like you. If you imagine a man in the role that Joe is playing, you would think you are an asshole. And the thing about these female characters that strikes me and just stays with me is how much they play into the male stereotypical characteristics. By being aggressive rather than assertive, by being abusive and manipulative rather than empathetic. These are male characters being played by female actresses. On one hand, it makes total sense that them having to work in a male-dominated space, they would have these extreme male characteristics just to demand respect. I mean, you can clearly see that in the leader of the team that we meet. The woman that is in front of this team is completely fearless and all the men respect her because she acts like one of them. We even see her taking showers with them, which just on one hand signifies how they are all parts of the team and they don't care about that stuff about each other because it's all the mission. And on the other hand, it shows how she's behaving like a man, like the stereotypical way that you would perceive a man, because even characterizing all of these personalities that are extremely aggressive, that are extremely explosive, that are extremely remorseless and emotionless and all that stuff, even portraying all these male characters and these female characters with these male characteristics is stereotypical because it's just the traditional way that you see a man, you know, and we all know it's not like that. It's the stereotype. That's what it is. Like the plain stereotype is what we see in these male and female characters. But it makes sense for the women to play up this stuff if they are in the male-dominated space because they need respect and they need to be seen as being as competent as the men that are in that space. On the other hand, when we think of the characters themselves, a much deeper conversation about Hollywood feminism can be had. Because for many years now, for many years, the examples that we get of strong female leads, strong female characters, are basically just male characters wearing tank tops and shorts and having two guns on their hands. Very Lara Croft, kinda. But the argument here is, why can't a strong female lead be empathetic? Why can't a strong female lead be caring? Why is strong always equal to aggressive? And why is strong never equal to empathetic or caring or whatever? It's almost as if they are saying that the only way a person can be strong is if a person is demonstrating male characteristics, not just male characteristics, stereotypical male characteristics. Because we all know that masculinity is not equal to being, stone-faced, steel-hearted, brave, courageous soldier. Like, that's not masculinity. That's not what masculinity is. And the fact that we keep getting these strong female leads and they're just men in shorts with long hair is so detrimental to the actual development and representation of actual strong female leads. I mean, think about history. Think about women that you admire in history. There are strong women like Joan of Arc who led armies, and then there are women that are more quiet like Rosa Parks. And the fact that we get just one type of strong female lead, which is the the warrior with male characteristics, and that's what is perpetuated in all of these shows and these movies, is so reductive. Because being a strong woman doesn't mean being like a man. That's not what we mean. When we say that we want strong female leads, we don't mean we want a foul-mouthed, spitting gun holder. And of course, there is space for these characters. There is space for any kind of character. But when everything you see is these kind of characters, it's a bit telling of what these execs and producers and creators think is a strong woman, The last thing about this is that there are mountains mountains of research that show that being aggressive and manipulative and mistreating people and being strict and tough doesn't create strong people. It creates fearful people. It creates obedient people out of fear. So when they're training these lioness agents, what they're doing is not training a strong agent. What they're doing is creating an obedient agent, obedient to Joe. And I think that Nicole Kidman's character is right. She can trust them because trust comes with respect, comes with understanding, comes with empathy. And Joe shows none of this for her lionesses. And going back to the moment where Nicole Kidman is like watching the news, I keep saying Nicole Kidman, but I mean her character, obviously. And she's watching the news and her husband comes in, which I hate her husband. I hate that man. I'm pretty sure, I don't remember this exactly, but I'm pretty sure he's like the owner of a big oil company, right? I don't think he works for the state. He works for a company, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, if I didn't understand it well. But her husband is there and she's listening to the news, and then they have a conversation about what is going on. And Nicole Kidman at some point says that she's still in the sovereignty of our nation business. And the husband just laughs. And for that 1 second where he laughs, that was my favorite character of the show. Hate that man for 1 second, loved him. Because same. Second to last point, I hate the way they're portraying the relationship between Jo and her eldest daughter, because it was so strained in season 1, it made so much sense, and now it seems like they're almost like transitioning to a friendship kind of relationship, and we all know that mothers are not friends. And my last point, well, actually, I'm going to read to you what I wrote in my notes because I feel like it perfectly encapsulates what I want to say. And yeah, so this is what I wrote as I was watching the show for the second time. The discussion of the kidnapped Republican, the discussion about transphobia not being transphobia, but rather an opinion, the idea that you can have an opinion on whether or not you believe in someone when they tell you who they are, the discussion about the lack of freedom in certain places and not in the States, all of this makes it very clear to me who is the audience of this show and who they're trying to pander to. Thank you for watching. Let's see how this does. Potentially not very well. I'm not expecting it to do very well. But well, see you Thursday, potentially, with... Actually, it should have been today, but I really wanted to film this, so I put it back to Thursday. But I'm doing my horror movie list. Just you wait. See you Thursday.